And that's why the development of higher states of consciousness in the meditative state is the foundation of the whole Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind initiative. It's very controversial amongst the nuts and bolts crowd in the UFO subculture. I said, yes, but you're not dealing with civilizations using a piece of junk like this. They're not communicating using the speed of light. Because if they're from the Andromeda galaxy, this is 2.5 million light years from Earth. At the speed of light, it would take 5 million years to get a signal from there to here and back. 5 million years. Homo sapiens haven't been on Earth for 5 million years. So now that means that they're using technologies that are trans-dimensional, going beyond the speed of light, and which also, it so happens, interface with thought forms, energy fields that are in the realm of the thought. What used to be relegated to the mystics, but now is something we have to accept as the real science of the future. And so this is where the science of consciousness and the science of trans-dimensional and interstellar technologies are going to have to come together. I think that it makes total sense, and it's the sort of thing nobody really wants to talk about in polite circles scientifically, because it sounds too weird. But if it's not a little weird, it's not extraterrestrial. It's probably something from Lockheed. And so educating yourself about the nature of where consciousness and thought and these technologies interface with their technologies. And in 1991, I wrote a paper that's in the first book I wrote, that's called The Comprehensive Assessment of the UFO ETI, Extraterrestrial Intelligence Subject. And in it I talk about technology-assisted consciousness and consciousness-assisted technologies, where the mind interfaces with these both ways, where the mind can interface with technology, but also where technologies can augment and project thought and awareness more accurately. And that's what these civilizations had. I got a call from a senior aerospace engineer at McDonnell Douglas Aerospace that became part of Boeing Phantom Works. They had their own Phantom Works, became part of Boeing covert programs, but it was still McDonnell Douglas back then. And he said, how do you know this? This is the most accurate assessment any of us have ever read. And it turns out he had been on all kinds of committees, had known old man McDonald at McDonnell Douglas, and was on the Condon Committee to look into this at the University of Colorado in 1969. But he said that it's going to get you in a lot of trouble because it sounds a little far out there. And then he related me a story. He says, I was researching a case for McDonnell Douglas years ago, and it was in the Baja California in Mexico. And a craft had materialized, and this ET just appeared outside of it. And he had sort of a little black box, a rectangular box here at his solar plexus. And the person who had the encounter said that as clear as you would hear words in your ears, this being was communicating with his mind. And he was thinking back, and he knows that this device was receiving it and augmenting it and facilitating it, and it was going back and forth, all through thought. And he said that was a very, very solid case. He interviewed the people directly. And I said, well, that doesn't surprise me. I said, how else are you going to communicate interstellar? You have to go at the speed of thought, not the speed of electromagnetic signals. Now, this, of course, opens you up into the ridicule of the tinfoil hat crowd. But there is a serious science. And by the way, it is why the people at the science director at the CIA and other places know that we're onto the real thing. I had an NSA guy come up to me and said, they're very mad at you because you figured out the Rosetta Stone of contact. And it involves consciousness and thought, trans-dimensional physics.